All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the bus, and I'm just going to remove a couple of things and explain what I did towards the end of the week last week. And what I did was start the process of templating. I hope I didn't ruin this template. All right, here's what we got. Towards the end of the week last week, Dad and I taped some paper, construction paper, just regular kind of board construction paper. I would have bought a RAM board if I'd been able to get a hold of it. I just used the paper that I had. I might pick up some RAM board as we do more of this, but they didn't have it. I taped some paper up over this whole area and traced out the best approximation we could actually get of this curve right here. We actually did both, but this is the curve that we're most concerned with first, I think. Traced out a good approximation of this curve, and then we took that paper template and we brought it over to a piece of 3/4 inch MDF that I am going to hope is strong enough. Taped it down to the MDF. I have cut this first edge, and that's all we're going to do right now at first. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go open the back of the bus up, and we're going to try to get this whole sheet actually up on top of the bus so that I can refine this curve. This is sort of a first approximation curve. But I want to refine it, get it a lot more fared to the top of that cap, without going into any of the divots or dents, because I'd rather actually take those out when we put the cap on. Use the cap to pull them out a little bit. But I want to fare it into the top of the bus, which will then give me a good template, or let me create a good template for the top of this sheet, which we'll use to get the curve on the top of the bus, which should be very similar, but might be slightly different. And after we have that, we will be able to copy it and hopefully turn that into a hammer form for bending some number of sheets of metal into the shape of a back cap. Won't be able to do it out of a single sheet, mostly because I just don't trust myself, and I think I'd be better off using some of the metal that we took out of the ceiling and make that into the cap in a few pieces. I think that having a few pieces will let me fudge it a little more. All right, so for now, I'm just going to set this thing up. I'm going to open up the back of the bus, and then I'm going to start figuring out how I'm going to fit this giant sheet of MDF, which weighs way more than I feel like lifting over my head. But I'm going to get it out there and get it lifted into place. I hope. Here we go. So what I'm doing is a little bit of surface prep. There's all this glue, butyl, whatever it is, that I just took off with a wire wheel. Got down at least close enough to be close enough. Now I gotta take these rivet heads down so that I can actually get the template to sit down here. Okay, so I have this relatively flush now. There is definitely some waviness in here. I'm not going to bother banging that out. I'm going to hope that once we get to this rib right here, it's pretty accurate. That's what I think I'm going to try to have the template come down. It'll be a slight angle, but that might be better for me. We'll see. I always forget how much this crap weighs. Hell. So the stuff I'm using, because I want to use it for hammer form, it's called medium density fiberboard. I really want to know what the hell high density fiberboard is and who the hell would use it. I have been trying to avoid opening up that little edge over there, but I don't think it's a choice anymore. And it doesn't really matter, so there's not actually a good reason to avoid it. Details. Okay. Closer. Okay. Okay. Slight change of plan. Got the MDF up to here, then realized that, Dad and I were talking about it, we realized it's probably better to mark it low. I'm just going to eat the fact that I'll have to buy another whole sheet, which I think no matter what I'm going to have to. It's more than 24 inches, so you can't cut the sheet in half. So I think I'm just going to mark it where it is, and that's going to give me some guidance as to what I have to do and everything else here. So I'm going to start by kind of reaching up back in here, and I'm going to mark the inside edge here, up in here. This is going to be a little bit too inside, I think. Wait, yeah, because this actually wants to eventually be the outside edge. This is a little bit of a rough way to do this too. I'm going to need a smaller marking device. I think I need a pencil that I can break. So in the short term, I'm going to start by marking up here. Now this actually is, right here, the right line. because I want, if possible, to have this. If possible, I want this. I want the edge to lap over the back piece. I want the roof to lap over the back piece. So this is theoretically the right place for this cut. Until we get back in here, or we might do the spray paint check and see if that works for us. Might shoot some spray paint back in there. On the outside, I'm going to also mark to give you another good reference point. So see if we can get this around here. I don't know if you can see this. I can't even see what I'm doing. But this is another reference point. This is a fairly exact reference point. Fairly exact. And do that over here too. Okay. There's another reference point in there. May even get in under here on this one too. There. Another good reference point. We'll mark this edge over here, because I would love, when this is all said and done, to have a pretty good idea of what this all represents. Now my only issue is I can't get my Sharpie in there. I'm a little frustrated. Every once in a while, at a trade show, I'll get one of those tiny little Sharpies on a lanyard. And I'm always like, who the hell ever needs this thing? Get a real Sharpie. I need that thing right now. See if I can find a pencil. So I borrowed a golf pencil from my dad, which is just about the right implement, I think. I'm gonna find out. I have some filler primer, which, yeah, but it should let me mark that space I can't get to. So, first things first, inside edge here. Turns out that this cut that I made last week doesn't matter. Just not going to use it. Still doesn't quite fit. However, now we have options. Knife's not very sharp, but I'm still not going very hard. Because I'd like to still have a thumb when this is done. There we go. That is apparently the piece that I need. Right? Right? Maybe, maybe not. Try it again. Technically, I should be doing this from the outside. I'm being a little lazy. there seems to be a mark showing up there. Do seem to be getting a mark as I do this. Let's see. That's going to be about 1/4 of an inch, I'm guessing, all told. Too short. Part of that is the metal. Part of that is the fact that really can't do two things at once here. Part of that's going to be the fact that I'm at a slight angle, or the pencil offsets itself a little bit. So we'll have to take that into account when we actually do the cuts. Next up, getting this monstrosity back down. Oh no, I'm going to do the spray paint trick. Okay. Yeah. Again, this will not be perfect, and I'm not sure you guys are going to be able to see much of this, so... Well, I don't know if you guys can see much. I need to be able to use my hand to do this. So you guys are going back up on the ladder here. Alright, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in there and pull the plywood tight. And I'm going to spray a very small amount into there. That is very tight, okay. Okay. It does not give me an exact line, but it gives me a line. Honestly, you know what? I'm still going to do this. I might go back one more time. I'm a little concerned that my line is too far off on that. So I'm trying not to actually obliterate any marks that I made. Just trying to kind of dust it on there. This whole thing moved. Bummer. Maybe. I'm gonna try with a clamp this time. I unfortunately marked the gutters, so I have a pretty exact location here, a reference point. Huh?
The clamps will work.
Yeah. I had marked right in here.
Yeah.
So a pretty exact kind of point, but I have to check the other one, and now I have to figure out which lines I drew wrong.
I have another different color copy.
That's pretty exact. All right, let's see what I can do here. Here's the pencil on it here. Really gotta stop banging my head on this stuff. I don't want to make that many jokes about ambition strikes. All right. Let's see what we got. Want to proffer any opinion before I take this down? I think you would weigh. I think the paint's wrong now. I think I have another color of primer that's another kind of primer that's a different color. The self-touching is different. Yeah, okay. I'll do that, please. Give that a minute to dry before I smear all this coat. It's a work coat, but I like it. I don't know if that paint dried or was absorbed. I suppose it doesn't really matter. So we've got a few reference lines to choose from here. Probably doing this, the actual Sharpie line on the inside here. But you can see how there's a difference. Inside to outside. Probably should have started this while standing up here. I can't back up enough.
Yeah. You coming down through it?
Yeah.
Alright, I got it.
Or, yeah, I'm going down through it. Or are you coming down through me?
Alright, hold on.
I just went on the route.
Slippery, you kind of grab it.
Yeah. I think I got a decent line though on this.
Yeah.
There's the heck out of it. Wow. Template sock, right? Who cares?
Yeah.
That was an adventure. Okay, so I let the battery die on the other camera. So we're back to the phone. My apologies for the audio. What I did is I went to Home Depot, got myself another sheet of plywood, or MDF. I am abandoning this particular cut, which was not beautiful anyways. But I don't think I'm going to need it. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move to the top. We're going to do the top cut first. And I'm going to cut along the top here. And I'm going to cut two sheets. So what I did is I actually screwed, just in 4 places to keep them together, I screwed these 2 sheets together. I'm going to jigsaw them apart, and that'll give me 2 matching edges that I can use. I can clamp a piece of metal between, or screw a piece of metal between, and bend that piece of metal. So my next step is going to be to probably think about cutting that hill, or cutting that thing. I think I will also extend this down to the end of the wood here. The inner curve comes in here somewhere, but this will give me the ability to kind of bend a piece of metal around this edge and start to meet the it'll give me a reference for where the sheet metal needs to come down to meet the metal on the side of the bus. So I think I'll do that before I cut this. Here we go. Okay, so the next thing that we just did is we clamped one, we laid out these lines where we think the panels are going to fall on this form. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. And then I've clamped one sheet in for now, and I screwed right through it. There's some debate about whether or not these are strong enough screws, but I screwed right through it to keep the drilled a hole, then screwed, to keep this sheet metal from sliding around inside. There's going to be a fair bit of force on it as I wrap on it. The next thing I need to do is I need to lay out some type of a scribe mark and cut that so that I have an equal flange when I start to bend this thing over. Otherwise, the forces on this side are going to build up either here or here a lot more than the forces on this side, because as you bend this, there's going to be more material that has to kind of compress in on the side. And it actually theoretically will compress, I guess. More importantly, it theoretically will compress, but I don't want to work that hard. So, and I suspect that it'll pucker if I go out that far. So I'm going to try to, oh, I see we have new screws. I might swap them out. But I am going to trim that down after I figure out a way of scribing it. All right, so this is where we ended up after whacking on this for a little bit. Probably you guys didn't have the best shot of that, but sorry. It's this particular one is not as pretty, but it's a great test that the MDF seems to have held up fine. A few marks in there on the top sheet, actually. More marks on the top sheet than on the bottom from me missing. But we got a reasonable curve here. I mean, it needs a little work, but we're gonna have to ferret it out anyways. Sheet metal guys, if any of them ever see this, will be screaming. And it actually does tell me that this followed the form a little better than I had anticipated. I actually may need to fair this form a little bit. But as a test for whether or not I can hammer form a cap, that's not half bad. So it's getting dark. You might be able to tell that. And I am probably going to wrap it up for the day, and maybe even the week. But I think we came up with a pretty close approximation of that top curve of the roof, which is a nice start. We have confirmed that we can bend what was the ceiling sheet metal into being a makeshift cap. So I should be able to get a couple caps. I should be able to make the front and back roof raised caps out of this. So all told, I'm pretty happy with today's work. We only generated one curve that I will probably cut off and try again. Just to see if I can do a slightly better job. I'll probably cut that off anyways. So I don't think I actually made anything that's going on the bus today. But I made the stuff that's going to help me make the stuff that's going on the bus. So that's it for this week. I guess I've been told that I should tell people to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Partly I've been told that so that people have a chance to manipulate their browsers and get to the like button. Apparently they don't want to like it until the end of the video, and that's fair. That's fair. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get, really. Also, if anyone has any questions, comments, thoughts, I'm always open. I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts down in the comments. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Now I feel like I should say, what did you build today? But that's another channel. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.